5:25 in the morning and the bus is already late. How do you get stuck in traffic at 5:25? In December of 2024, I took a weekend trip to Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Located in the Balkans, Bosnia is a country surrounded by Croatia, Serbia and Montenegro, further divided into the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and also the Republika Srpska, with many different kinds of ethnic groups living within it. On this trip I encountered Olympic ruins in the snow, tried out local cuisine, discovered some weird borders and took a trip down the country's turbulent and war-torn past, all with some spectacular scenery along the way. The first stop on this trip was the Tunnel of Salvation Museum, just around the corner from the airport. Here they have all kinds of interesting exhibitions detailing the tunnel that was dug underneath the airport during the siege of the city in the Yugoslav war. I didn't spend too long at the museum, but it was definitely a worthwhile stop and would absolutely recommend it if you're in the area. Heading just outside the city, you'll find yourself in Istočno Sarajevo. This lies over the border of Republika Srpska and has a completely different atmosphere. This area is predominantly inhabited by ethnic Serbians, hence the name Republika Srpska.
So these are sort of your average prices at a Bosnian sort of rough and ready Bosnian establishment. You've got Trebević for 10 kuna, for 250 grams of 10, which is probably what I'm going to have. 10 kuna is about £4.20. For 1 kuna, you've got about 42 pence. You can get a burger for £5, or a £2 burger. Look at that. You can get a beer for 3 kuna, so about £1.30. And soft drinks are pretty cheap as well. I do love that about the Balkans. The beer is basically the same price as the soft drink. We've got cocktail, which is quite similar to Coke. It's quite floral, very popular in this part of the world, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia. And one of the most famous Bosnian dishes, cevapi, but basically grilled meat, inbred, bit of sour cream, bit of sauce. And we've got some what looks like, I don't know, cabbage or some kind of similar to sauerkraut on the side. All of this, 250 grams of meat in there, £4.20. So after my belly busting meal, I'm making my way to one of the former Olympic sites, just on the outskirts of Sarajevo, on this beautiful mountain pass in the snow. Probably the most amazing road I've ever been on in my life. It's a shame I finally found somewhere to pull over and we're that high up that you can't even see anything anymore. Usually I'm the kind of person who will go on Google Maps and scout out somewhere before I go and visit, and there's no Google Street View in Bosnia, so I had literally no idea what to expect, but yeah, I'm blown away so far. Behind me now is one of the hotels from when the Winter Olympics came to Bosnia, or Yugoslavia back then, in the 1980s. We are currently in the village of, I think, called Igman, and in the middle of nowhere, in the beautiful snow, we come across this old hotel.
This futuristic looking hotel was a key part of the Winter Olympic Games. However, it was completely devastated during the Bosnian War and it's been left like this ever since. Well, I found myself some kind of path, but 4-year-old Adidas trainers are not the one. And I definitely should have invested in some gloves because my hands were about to fucking fall off. I think down in Sarajevo earlier, you know, the temperature was pretty comfortable, at least for this time of year. I think it's down to about -1 at the moment. This is where the footwear is letting me down, because the snow ain't been cleared up here. But but it is quite amazing. Considering it's been sat in the snow for over 30 years, it's in pretty good nick. You can tell with these sort of huge windows that in its day it was an absolutely stunning place to stay. I mean, just imagine waking up to this in the morning. I must admit the silence here is just deafening. Apart from me stomping around, there is literally not a sound. Well, down here in what I thought was the basement, but looks more like ground floor. I think I came down what must have been kind of maintenance staircase or something. And it is so cold here. Look at the icicles on the roof. Yeah, look at the size of that one. Well, I didn't fall through the stairs. There's a lot of arrows pointing in very odd directions, and one of them wants me to go down there. I found another set of stairs. I keep seeing these words. Abri. Guess it might mean basement or something, Abri. It's pointing this way. God knows what's down there. But yeah, heading back to the car, heading back to the warm. And I believe there's another Olympic site not too far up the road, maybe a kilometre or two, that we can go check out before we run out of sunlight. When I was doing my research, I found that this ski slope was down the road from the old hotel and thought it might have been abandoned, but it's definitely not. It's still there, and it looks like they were open at some point today. I think they're shut now. There's no one here. It does very much feel like I'm somewhere I shouldn't be. Being the middle of December, it got dark pretty quickly, so I got back in the car and made my way back to Sarajevo on a fantastically scenic journey back to the city before checking into my hostel and then going for a little wander around the town. Look, I've made a friend. He's following me. Keeps getting in my way. Goes after anyone who's got a bag of shopping with him. Welcome to the White Fortress, here at the top of one of the many hills that overlook the city of Sarajevo and offers some of the best views of the city. Further down the hill you have the Yellow Fortress, which was built in the 18th century to defend against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Whereas up here the White Fortress is significantly older, although no one can quite agree on an exact date for when it was built. People seem to estimate as early as the 1500s. If you're brave enough to scale the narrow path and jump through one of these windows, you get a fantastic view, not just to the west over to Sarajevo, but to the east as well. Not too far down the road you'll find the Visegrad Gate, which was one of the entrances to the walled city of Vratnik, which is the area we're in now, and also where the White Fortress sits. Nowadays, obviously, it's just part of the city of Sarajevo. Today's mission was to drive eastwards into the Republika Srpska and find out more about the Serbian side of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I got back in the car, made my way down the hill and got onto the motorway. Once you get outside of the city and head east, Yes, you head east. The signs that you're in Republika Srpska become a lot more obvious, but it is no less beautiful. Come down the road by about 25 minutes to a town called Pale in the Serbian part of the country. And something that came up when I was doing my research was this villa, now abandoned, which was built during the Austro-Hungarian occupation of Bosnia in the early 20th century. It belonged to a merchant family who had many sawmills in the area, but it's been sat here for many years. Thought it was worth checking out at least. We're very much in the back and beyond of this town of Pale. The town centre is back in that direction there. But round here it's very rural, very traditional. Does very much feel like I'm a complete outsider here. Also getting barked at by quite a few dogs. Well, it's raining here in Pale, and to be frank, it's not the most captivating place either. So I'm just sitting in the car enjoying this lunch of champions for a bit. It does feel completely different to just half an hour down the road where we were in Sarajevo. A lot of the rural architecture is very similar, but here in the city it feels much more Serbian, if you will. Realising that there was very little to do in Pale apart from get rained on and inhale diesel fumes, I made my way back towards Sarajevo. However, this time taking a different route around the southern edge of Trebević mountain, which I must say was a fantastic choice. If you follow the main road round to the south of Trebević mountain peak, you get greeted with some absolutely amazing scenery to the south. Sarajevo is just to our west, back in that direction. You can kind of make out a bit of it down there. But it's nice to have a bit of sun after all the rain. After very little sightseeing but some very nice driving, I made my way back to the city and had to check out the History Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which I must say was really, really good. Definitely worth visiting, not just for history about the war, but also about art and culture in Bosnia and Sarajevo. Just opposite, outside the Museum of Bosnian History, you'll also find various military equipment, a jeep, an armoured train, various artillery and a tank as well, just as a reminder of the war that happened here, and it's free for people like me to look at. One of the most famous monuments in Sarajevo is actually this in front of me, a sarcastic monument to the efforts made by the EU and the UN during the siege of Sarajevo, where a huge airlift was conducted. A lot of the food that was given was actually expired, couldn't be eaten, or in many instances also contained pork. Bosnian Muslims, the majority in this area, couldn't actually eat it. Walking through the back streets to a cable car station where I'll be able to show you one of the sites I've been most looking forward to on this trip so far. I must admit, this is my idea of a nightmare, being suspended this high up in a glass box, being able to see all the way down. But it will be worth it once we get to the top, and the views that you get of Sarajevo when you're coming up are definitely worth it. Even though it was 30 marks, which is quite a lot. I think that's like what, 13 quid.
Just a 5-minute walk from where you get off the cable car, you'll find this, the start of the bobsled tracks from the Winter Olympics here in 1984. Completely abandoned, and nowadays it's one of the most famous tourist attractions in Sarajevo. We are about 1,000 metres above sea level at present, hence all the snow on the floor. So you can tell it's a lot colder here. To be honest, from the UK, being this far above sea level is quite unusual at all. This would be the equivalent of standing on top of Snowdon right now, in terms of just the sheer height above sea level. And the peak is another 600 metres to go. Now, if you climb over the stairs next to the start of the track, there's actually a path you can follow that mirrors the bobsleigh track all the way down. And you get to see the track up close, as well as some of the crazy graffiti that's been put up over the years. When you're this close to the track, you can really get a feel for how steep it is going downhill, and the banks on the corners are really, really high. You can see down there the bank on the corner is about 6-7 feet tall. Some of these bobsleds will get up to about 70-80 miles an hour just with the gravity all the way down the track while on ice. It's not personally my idea of fun sport.
Going further down the track, you get to see even more of the course with even more crazy graffiti, interesting colours, as well as some other abandoned buildings along the way. It takes about 25 minutes from the peak all the way down to the bottom.
As you get further down, the track sort of splits off and has multiple kind of routes from just the one further up, and I have no idea what this is, but if someone could enlighten me. Coming further down the mountain, I think I've worked out what the two tracks are for. That one I'm assuming would be the skeleton bob, which is basically a one-person bobsled that you lie on your front and go down in. This massive one, which everyone comes here for, is the four-man bobsled, which is used in the team version. If you've never seen Cool Runnings, watch that. That's basically bobsled. It's quite something how much better the bobsled track looks compared to the rest of the Olympic site. I couldn't even tell you what this was supposed to be. The hood has gone up because it's really cold, but just a few minutes walk from the end of the bobsleigh track is this here. This is Bistrik Tower, and it was part of the network of fortifications in the mountains overlooking Sarajevo.
About 1,000 metres above the city is Bistrik Fortress, which is part of the defensive network of fortresses and towers around the city, originally built by the Austro-Hungarians and then later converted to an observatory after World War II. However, it was obviously destroyed during the Yugoslav wars, and it's been left like this ever since. It was pretty cloudy today, but I had the whole site to myself, and if you're that way inclined, you can definitely get up on top of the observatory tower for some amazing views over the city, and there's all kinds of graffiti around as well, which is super cool and interesting to look at, so definitely worth a visit to the tower.
There must be a mosque or something nearby, down on the ground. So I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but I can hear something going on. And at first it was quite eerie because I couldn't quite tell what it was. It sounded sort of like when you play Ravenholm for the first time in Half-Life 2.
After a cold and very long uphill walk all the way up to the Trebević summit, got back on the cable car and headed down into the old town.
Despite the fact that we're in the majority Muslim part of the country, you won't just find mosques, you'll also find Eastern Orthodox churches as well as Catholic churches. The Serbian people are obviously Eastern Orthodox Christian, and the Croatians are Catholic. So this here is one of the oldest Orthodox churches in the whole of the country, founded before the 6th century. Right, I'm eating again. So we've got a
what's called a bliskavica. It's kind of like almost like a burger, sort of an amalgamation of different meats minced together, fried or barbecued rather. This is I think it's called kaimak. It's kind of like cream cheese. Got onions as usual. I've no idea what that is. Tomatoes and a bit of bread, and of course yogurt, which I've really taken a liking to since coming here. A bit like Iran, if anyone's tried that. I'll tell you what, even in the heart of the old town, where it's supposed to be the most touristy, you can eat like a king, get a restaurant-sized meal, feel absolutely stuffed for the price of, you know, a coffee in London. And we got a friend, or two friends. One thing you may notice if you come here are the splotches of red paint over the floor in certain places. These were actually holes created by shelling, shrapnel during the war, and they've been filled with red, pink paint as part of, I don't know, some kind of art project memorial, but it is quite striking when you do notice it.
In the Old Town, there's a real contrast of the Eastern European backdrop that you get elsewhere in the city, contrasted with the Ottoman-style buildings, indoor markets, mosques that you see elsewhere as well. It definitely feels not very European in some places, although very much European in others. But it's a really good place to walk around, to get some sweets, chocolate, coffee, all kinds of interesting local stalls.
On the river, one of the most recognisable sights is the Latin Bridge, which was built actually not by any Latin civilization, but by the Ottomans. And where we are currently is very close to where Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in 1914, which is where most people know Sarajevo from, that chain of events which led to the start of the Great War.
I'd kill for a McDonald's or something. And I know that's bad, but I don't really care. I'd kill for one of them. Oh, I haven't seen a single McDonald's here. Not one. Might be the first country I've ever visited where they've done a McDonald's.
Mate, there's no fucking pavement outside the airport, and there's no like pedestrian crossings at all. I had to make a run for it and then jump in a ditch when I dropped off the iron car yesterday. Now I've got to walk all the way around in the grass to get over there.
Za slobodu borimo se, naši sinovi.